and welcome to the Thriving Writers Show. On today's show, I have a writer, a great visual artist, and the author of Finding Diamonds in Dungeons. Well, welcome to the show, Sohma Rae Hathaway. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Frank. Great to be here.
So tell me, you're a gifted artist and a writer as well. So how did you get your start in expressing yourself through these forms of art?
Well, I think as far as my art goes, I don't ever remember not having that drive. I think it was just something that was put in me. I didn't really have a choice, really, but I've always enjoyed, since I was, 6 or 7, loved to draw and paint and color. And as far as the writing goes, I think I found out I had that skill when I was in college and took a creative writing class, and I loved it.
Awesome. And I can see behind you an example of your artwork. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Okay, so part of the thing with me is that I don't want my artwork just to be a pretty painting. I like to have meaning behind it. And with this one, the boat is symbolic of our life's journey. And sometimes we feel like we're stuck in the mud and we're just waiting for that tide to come in, and we kind of lose hope. So this painting is called Hope Waits, and it's about waiting on God's timing and knowing that there is the ebb and flow of life and that there is abundance. And for me, every time I look at a sunset, I've thought about God and how creative He is. And so for me, the light from the sunset represents God, and you see that it comes all the way to the boat. Also, when a sunset is formed, it's from light filtering through imperfections in the atmosphere. And so I feel like that is symbolic of how God takes our imperfect lives and makes it into something beautiful.
That's awesome. Having been an artist myself, I was wondering, did this painting come from imagination, or did you have a scene that you were drawing this from, or how did that work?
It's funny that you asked that, because I looked at a photograph for the inspiration, and the photographer who took the picture, this is actually from a photograph taken in Cape Cod. And when he took the picture, he had to walk out in the mud just to get the right angle, right? Sometimes we got to walk through some muddy situations in life. Anyway, his wife was waiting in the car for him patiently, and she was pregnant with me. So the inspiration came from a photograph that my father took 100 years ago. Okay, not 100 years ago, but many years ago.
Yeah, I always tell my kids I was born in the 1800s, and they believe me for a while, but not anymore.
It kind of makes you feel smart, makes them think you're smart, right?
Yeah. I use the gray hair as evidence of wisdom in my life. So
sure, that's perfect.
Yeah, it seems to work so far. All right, well, you did just release a book, Finding Diamonds in Dungeons, and there's a lot of great stuff in there that maybe at least some of us have dealt with, like, say, cancer and abuse, just a number of heavyweight things that you had to deal with all through your life. Tell us how you came to write the book, and just maybe what you're hoping the reader would get from reading it.
Sure. Actually, I had no intention of writing a book. I didn't want to write a book. It wasn't in my plans, but I kept getting prompted that I needed to tell my story. And, it's a hard story. There's not just one trial, but several difficult issues that I went through that I didn't really want to share. But once I started realizing that in sharing my story, I would be helping other people, that motivated me to be transparent and to just let go of my insecurities and just bravely share what I felt needed to be shared. So there were many times as I was writing the book that I wanted to give up. If I had been writing the book for myself, I would have given up 100 times over. But there was that drive coming from something other than myself that knew I needed to connect with people in their stories and the suffering that they've gone through, and that there is a way to heal. And one of the main, I think, messages in my book is that you can make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. If you read, you'll just see I didn't do everything right, but I want people to know, those people who think they've messed up too many times, or that they just don't have what it takes, that they do have what it takes, and that there is no place low enough that we can stoop or fall that God's hand can't reach us. So that is my hope. And there is recovery from abuse, and you can go on with your life and make incredible things happen.
That's awesome. I love that. That there's no place that's too low that God can't reach you. That's very encouraging right there. And we've all had some places in our lives where we screwed it up or just done it wrong, or maybe people have done wrong things to us, and it's always encouraging to see that someone else has been through it, and as you say, hey, you can do it too, and here's a way.
Yeah, when I started writing the book, I didn't know what the end would be. I just felt like God was telling me I needed to write a story, my story about pain. And it didn't make sense. I thought, why? I'm not going to just write a story just for this, oh, woe is me, I went through this. I didn't want to share it unless there was something that someone could get out of it. And as I was writing is when I came up with, when I had this aha moment and realized that that was the end of the book. And it has to do with pain being a necessary part of our lives. It's not just an unfortunate side effect, but it's necessary to help us move to a higher level of thinking, and be in those that higher energy of thought. And forgiveness is a big part of that. And I learned how you can forgive and love those who have not said they're sorry and who don't understand your heart. So it's possible.
Yes, it is. That's
it's
very encouraging.
Possible to love our enemies and
Absolutely.
appreciate the value that they bring. That they are some of my best teachers. So not that I have enemies, but those who have hurt me the most have turned out to be some of my best teachers.
Wow. Sometimes it's pain that motivates us to do things that we wouldn't otherwise do. So in that sense, it's not wasted, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And until, partway through writing the book, I ended up having to have back surgery, and it went terribly wrong. And so I ended up experiencing pain that I never thought you could experience without passing out first. And it was through that physical pain that I finally, I had a conversation with pain and said, why do you think you have to be tormenting me so much in my life? And that's when I came up with the aha moment for the end of the book. And it's going really well. I don't know if you've read the reviews. People are reading it from cover to cover. I'm kind of astonished.
Well, that's every writer's dream, right? For people to not just quit halfway through or go through the first chapter and say, well, I'll come back to it later. That's a great thing.
Because you want it to touch them. You want it to change their lives and make their lives better. And if they're sorry, I have a lot of tears inside of me, but if they're reading it, then hopefully it's changing their lives. And that's what I want more than anything.
That's great. That's great. And your tears are good. So
Well, I think when you've gone through a lot, there's a lot of tears that just kind of get built up over the years, and so they come out whenever they can,
yeah,
you know?
for
So,
sure. Absolutely do. Well, let's talk about something maybe a little more cheerful then. You had a pretty innovative book trailer that you used to promote your book, and tell us about that and why it's different. And
sure, I'd love to. I was just watching Carrie Oberbrunner, and he had a trailer video for his book, and I thought, wow, that's great. I've got to do something for mine. And initially, I didn't want to really have any part in it as far as putting the script together and all that. I just wanted to, have someone else do it. But, the videographer said, this is your story and you need to tell it. So it was great. I didn't want to do the voiceover because I don't like the sound of my voice, but my husband recorded it for me. And in the process of recording it, I got emotional because these are really emotional things for me. And so I ended up kind of getting choked up when I was doing the voiceover, and I told my husband, okay, we need to re-record that because it didn't go so well. And he said, no, we need to keep it raw. And I think that is what is connecting with people in that video, is that they feel the emotion and my transparency in trying to share my story. So I would say, be transparent, be you, and don't be afraid to share who you are.
okay, well, I noticed your website came up first when I searched for your name or your book. And tell us, is there any strategy behind that, or was it just sort of a lucky accident?
Yeah, it might be dumb luck, but I did, Sohma Rae Hathaway is my pen name, and I took a lot of time and research on the internet, making sure no one else had that name. And, there's a lot of meaning behind my name as well. So that might have had something to do with it. I prayed a lot too.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
You spent a while marketing your book as well. What do you think was the most effective thing that you did, and maybe what was something that didn't work?
Well, one of the things that I think has worked best is connecting with other groups, on Facebook groups like yours, Frank. I mean, that has been instrumental in just connecting with other like-minded people. You create this energy, and it helps everybody, right? So I would say be generous, be giving, and I've worked with a couple of nonprofit organizations, and I think when you live in that space, the karma comes back around to you. I can't really think of a lot that didn't work. I know there are things. I happened to stumble across a web designer that wasn't really a fit for me, and I kept trying to make it work, and I kept trying to pay him more money. And after I'd spent thousands of dollars, we just realized, we're really not on the same page. So I would say go with your gut feeling. If someone that you're working with just doesn't seem to be the right fit, especially as creatives, we have our idea of how we want things, and that's okay. So, I would say that was probably the one thing I can think of that maybe didn't work as well.
Yeah, definitely. And as creatives, we like to set our own rules or break the conventional rules, right?
Yeah. And, I think we're given that gift for a reason. Each of us are unique in the creative qualities that we have, and God has a reason for putting those talents within us. So trust Him. And I ended up doing most of the design for my book cover, and it turned out great. A lot of people really enjoy my book cover. I don't know what your honest thoughts are on it, but it's, it wasn't where I was originally going to go with it. It just kind of flowed in that direction. So
yeah, well, I think your cover looks quite professional, and that's obviously working for you. And it certainly helps it that you're an artist already. I mean, I don't know that I would recommend that everybody design their own cover, but if you've got art skills, then
Well,
I would say go for it.
I felt moved in that direction, so that's that's key, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great for your readers who may not know that you're an artist, that hey, you've got that skill. So
Yeah.
what do you say to people who are artists or writers and say, we should just create our work, and people should just come to us because we're artists, and that's the way it is. People should just want it. What do you say to them?
I totally understand that feeling because I was in that place. But when you are given these creative talents, we have not only the opportunity, but the responsibility to share and connect with people. Someone said something the other day that I just thought was great. In fact, I'm going to read it to you if I can find it here. He said, "The arts help people transition from one emotion to the next, hopefully higher emotion." So that's a responsibility we have. And people are not going to get the message if we don't market it, right? If we don't get it out there. So it's not about the money. It's about a responsibility to share and help bring unity in society and in our humanity. So be brave. Don't listen to your self-doubt. It's just a little voice in your head that's, it's trying to get you to stop. Don't listen.
Absolutely. And money is a nice byproduct of sharing your work and getting it out there. And I'm sure you would agree that there's no reason to feel guilty about charging for your work, because there's certainly a lot of resources and your own time going in, right?
Right. I rely a lot on God in that aspect. Well, in everything, really. He's my senior companion. But when I'm thinking, oh, what should I charge? And, I've often found God whispering to me that I'm worth more than what I think I'm worth. This original painting actually sold for $1,900 just without a frame. And I wasn't going to ask that, but I felt that number just came to my head, and the person was very ready and willing to pay that amount. So definitely seek that higher inspiration. It would be my recommendation.
That's an awesome story.
He knows her worth too. Well, and another painting, I did a commission piece for a woman, and her husband had passed away, and they had a favorite cabin, and so she wanted me to paint this cabin on the mountainside in the fall, and I did that. But she gave me all these pictures of her husband, and I just felt like he needed to be a part of this painting. So I actually painted his profile in the leaves and branches of the trees. So it's very subtle. But when she saw that, she cried and paid me an extra $100 of, from the $1,300 that I charged her. So, people will pay what you're worth.
Absolutely. That's a nice extra touch that you added to that picture, and I'm sure she'll remember that forever.
Yeah, sure. She said her kids come up when I had to point it out to her at first before she could see it, and she says now she can't look at it without seeing her husband, and he's just kind of looking over the cabin. So and it's a beautiful spot, like beautiful area.
Oh yeah, I love the mountains myself, and it's my dream one day to have my own cabin up there.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
I love northern Utah, man, and all our beautiful mountains. If you've never been here, man, it's beautiful.
I'll have to take a trip out there sometime.
Sure. I've got a guest room. You guys can stay here.
Awesome. That would be great. So how would you say that your art shapes who you are as a writer?
Art is just, it's what I live and breathe. It's always that underlying way that I view things in life. So it's almost that I am who I am because of this artistic talent that's within me. And again, I feel like it's my responsibility to share. I don't feel like that talent comes from me. It just comes through me. So, and I think when you talk to a lot of creatives, they feel the same way. We're just this conduit of a way to reach other people and connect to them through our creativity. It's art is a language of its own. I mean, I've looked at pictures by Vincent van Gogh and started crying just because of the emotion that is in there. And that's an important connection for all of us as humans, that we need to recognize that we are one together.
Yes, yes. Somebody told me one time that if you don't use your gifts, then it's just not good stewardship on your part of what God has given you. And I think that was pretty powerful.
Exactly. I think it'll be taken away from you, not in an aggressive, negative way, just in a, consequential way that if we don't use it, the talent might be given to someone else, or the opportunity might be given to someone else. So yeah, we definitely get to share what we've been given for a reason.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that's just your purpose for being here on this planet, is to use that. And that's probably a pretty bold thing to say, but I think it's true. I mean,
Yeah, I think other creatives, they'll get that. When you recognize, and well, for me, when I'm painting a picture and when I'm finished, I look at it and sometimes I go, man, did I really do that? It's like, no, that came from somewhere other than just inside of me. And I know that God is the ultimate creator. He is, what does Wayne Dyer describe him as? That higher power of intention, that when we connect with him, we are co-creators with him. So it's a great
nice.
philosophy, I think.
Yes. So are you working on a sequel to your book? Yeah.
Yes, it's funny because I swore I was only ever going to write one book, and that I would be different. People would say, oh yeah, you write your first one and then you'll be writing your second. And I would laugh and be like, no, I will never. But I have so many readers who are saying, we want to hear the sequel. And I do feel like there's more that needs to be said, not in just resolution of some of the minor stories that were in the first one, but also, once we get to that aha moment that's at the end of my book, there's still more to come. There's more aha moments. There's more opportunities for us to get in closer connection with that higher power of creation, and to stay in that higher level of energy thought. So that is, I guess, yeah, it's in the books. I mean, it's in the future. It's my assignment right now that I'm working on, and hopefully I'll be done with it by July. I know my readers don't want to have to wait too long to get the next story. So that's kind of the majority of what I'm working on right now.
Cool.
And marketing, we kind of have to stuff.
Yeah.
Sit home and write and paint. That's what I would like to do, but unfortunately I got to do the marketing too, but that's okay.
Yeah. And as I was talking with Mike Loomis a few weeks ago, and he has a book called Book Launch Planner, and he says you should really start marketing your book as soon as you start writing it. And I think, you've really hit on that, to know that even now, before the book is finished, you're still out there putting the word out and marketing yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that'll make a difference when the book actually is done.
Yeah.
It's out there.
I do plan on doing a relaunch for this book in May. So there's significance to the date of May 5th. It's what the events of my first chapter happened on May 5th. So I am going to be putting together a relaunch for that. And then that will also be promoting the upcoming book. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, that is exciting. And if we have that information when it comes time to post this, we'll be happy to include all that in the show notes.
Absolutely. If you just go to findingthediamonds.com, there'll be information there that can keep you updated, and you can sign up for my email list too. So they get to hear everything first.
That's right. That's awesome. Okay, any final advice you'd like to leave for those watching today?
I would just say wake up early when your mind is fresh, and stay away from emotions like judgment and resentment, and your life will begin to flow in beautiful ways. Oh, I do have do you have you're going to show the link for my video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll absolutely include that one too.
Okay, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Frank.
And thanks for being here. I enjoyed this.
Me too. And I hope you have a great day.
I hope you do too. Thanks.
Okay.